FaZe clan betrays S1MPLE, Kyousuke aims to stop Vitality, results from the Iem Cologne play-in and the first days of the group stage. Hello there friends, this is CST News Hub. Without further ado, let's get straight to it. Alright guys, let's start this video with a pretty wild story. Have you ever thought about how often pro players switch roles? The first names you'll think of are probably Fallen, who's now a rifler, or Electronic, who had to become an IGL. But guess what? Perfecto also had to switch it up. We all know him as one of the best anchors in the game, but back in the day, he was actually a sniper. Yeah, no joke. It all started because the anchor in his team was underperforming, so they decided to swap roles, and honestly, that move only made him stronger and better. I mean, remember NAVI 2021? Sometimes Perfecto and Bit would pick up the second AWP just to cover S1MPLE, and when Shiro left Cloud9, Perfecto had no choice but to bring back the old sniper vibes. Now, he says that he'd love to try a new role, but still believes that as an anchor, he can bring the biggest impact. And by the way, when we talk about snipers, the biggest drama right now is FaZe clan basically turning their back on S1MPLE. Here's the story. It all started when Sasha said on JL's stream that FaZe didn't want to sign him because they felt his game wasn't on point and it had nothing to do with money. Then, surely, Thorin jumped in, throwing more fuel to the fire, saying that S1MPLE shouldn't have been slacking off and partying when he had such a huge opportunity at FaZe. On top of that, at Iem Cologne, Kerrigan revealed that FaZe clan would have signed S1MPLE only if they won the major and Sasha became the MVP. Naturally, everyone started asking, why act like everything's great in interviews and vlogs from the major if S1MPLE was just a temporary stand-in all along? Well, guys, you gotta understand, S1MPLE is more than just a player, he's a cultural phenomena. Sure, maybe his aim isn't as god tier as before, but his fanbase is as strong as ever. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I am one of those fans who were super hyped up when S1MPLE came back. But, well, for FaZe clan, this was never about S1MPLE's fame. They just wanted a shock therapy, to test their system with a fresh face, see where it breaks, and then fix it. And also earn a little bit of money, because S1MPLE's name on jerseys, well, you know. And that's why, after the tournament, they brought Brokey back. He knows the system, he's been grinding all this time, and he now fully realizes that he is replaceable. So his motivation to play is back. And after the major, Kerrigan even admitted that he felt how much the team was missing Brokey. S1MPLE's role was more like a radar to highlight FaZe's weaknesses. They never actually planned to keep him. Well, that sounds hypocritical. Maybe, yes, a little, especially considering their interviews during the Austin major, but this was the only way for FaZe to figure out how to grow, I guess. But guys, whose side are you on? Tell us in the comments below. Before we move on to the next news, let me tell you about CSGO Fast, as they're turning 10 years. CSGO Fast is the oldest and most trusted website in the history of CS skin games. Feel like Gaben is unfair to you? On CSGO Fast you can open tons of profitable cases and pull that dream skin you've always wanted. They've got a huge variety of games, including intense case battles. You can even invite a friend and win together. Surely you all love raffles. CSGO Fast runs free raffles every 6 hours, giving away skins to random participants. Plus, they regularly host special events. Right now is their 10-year anniversary, just look at the prizes up for grabs. And if you're a true CS veteran, you already know the community has trusted CSGO Fast for years. That's why they have a loyalty system for regular users and a ranking system with extra bonuses. Do I even need to mention skin prices? You already know they're awesome. And if you don't want to deposit, no problem, you can always use the referral system to earn points. Use promo code CSGO News Live to get plus 10% to your deposit and a free case. The link will be in the pinned comment. If the whole S1MPLE situation is kinda clear, then when it comes to other players and club owners, there's a lot of questions needed to be asked. You know, we've already talked about how in Brazil, players are basically being locked into almost slave contracts for 3 or 5 years with insane buyouts. And you know, the whole FL4MUS situation from Virtus Pro, where he also have to sit there for like 3 3 years at least. It's crazy with the contracts nowadays. But surprisingly, Nafani might have found a way out of this mess. The former Cloud9 captain says that all the CEOs need to sit down in one room and agree on a proper transfer policy. Because right now, some of these prices are going absolutely crazy, almost like in football. For example, according to rumors, some teams tried to buy out FL4MUS from Virtus.pro, but the price tag was just ridiculous. And I mean, there are other examples. Speaking of Virtus.pro, their roster changes actually started because of FL4MUS. According to Overdrive, after the major in Austin, FL4MUS went to the management and said that he didn't want to play with low-skilled players anymore, which is how he referred to FL4MUS and Icy. At that point, Parivision tried to pick up FL4MUS for themselves, but Virtus.pro's management offered to bring in Perfecto instead and kick FL4MUS. The Rifler agreed to stay, but as you can see, they couldn't remove Icy, simply because they couldn't find a proper replacement. As for FL4MUS, as we already said, he is under contract with Virtus.pro, and by the way, they're actively trying to sell him. But, well, there's a caveat, because they want at least $1 million, you know, to recover part of what they spent on him. I mean, no offense to FL4MUS, but $1 million is a lot for a player. Now, let's finally switch topic and talk about the second major of the season. Did you know that you can get free tickets for Budapest Major officially? All you have to do is just to make 8 people buy tickets using your link, because StarLadder just announced a referral program. So yeah, it's basically how I said. If 8 people buy tickets using your referral link, you will have 1 ticket for basically nothing. Time to gather your best friends, convince them to hit the major with you, and watch that profit roll in. By the way, has any one of you already bought the tickets for Budapest Major? Let us know in the comments below. Maybe you will find the friends to go with. Now, let's move on. It seems that Falcons are on a mission, and everyone's talking. Are they the team that can finally shut down Vitality's reign? Because their secret weapon is the new beast on the roster, Kyousuke. A lot of pro players, and by the way, Kyousuke himself, say that Falcons now have insane firepower. They can play however they want and still crush. And even Donk gave some advice if anything goes wrong for them. Just buy out magics for Kyousuke and Falcons will become unstoppable. But, well, that's not likely because Zonic has already confirmed himself. The roster is locked, no changes are coming. We will talk about that a little later. Speaking of fresh faces, JKS recently explained why he made the move to FlyQuest. Although to every single person in the world besides JKS it was kinda obvious. But, well, listen to this. According to JKS himself, he didn't want to sit out the whole season waiting for a perfect offer, so he agreed to join FlyQuest. He wanted to play alongside his old friends and share some of the experience he gained from international teams. And most importantly, JKS still has one big goal: to bring an Australian team to the top. And I mean, no one's stopping him, right? Let's see what happened at Iem Cologne. Yeah, shall we waste no time? Here we go, guys, the results of Iem Cologne playing stage. So first things first, the teams that advanced, and well guys, these are the most solid ones. Fury just crushed FlyQuest and then Astralis. 2-0, welcome to the group stage. Then came Faze Clan, who just swept away BIG with 0 issues. And then had a win, although a tough one, against Team Liquid. Ninjas in Pyjamas also made it through flawlessly with their new roster. Kaspersky looked pretty solid against Heroic and even more so versus 3D Max. Meanwhile, Raz and PR did their thing and carried Gamer Legion forward as well. Also, 4 more teams made it through the hard way: Astralis, 3D Max, Liquid and Heroic. For the Danes, not Heroic. As always, Hooksy and Device were the main engines. Meanwhile, Heroic's new sniper Grix was finally gaining some confidence. And Team Liquid, despite taking the toughest path possible, made it. NAV has clearly stepped up compared to the last season, but the team is still lacking that extra bit of firepower. Now let's talk about the teams who got knocked out, and there are some interesting names along. For example, the champions of Fisher Playground number 1, Tyloo, which is honestly kinda shocking. Virtus.pro also was eliminated, and that's after starting strong with a win over Tyloo, and then they just fall to Gamer Legion and Heroic. The worst in Cologne were BIG, who decided not to make any roster roster changes during the off-season, and bait together with MIBR, and, well, complexity, because it looks like having an official coach isn't really helping them yet. Now, if the play-in stage felt like just a warm-up, the first 2 days of the group stage already showed us who's really in shape. Of course, let's start with the most exciting part, how the new players on the top teams performed. First up, we've got Kyousuke, who went against Game Religion in his debut match. It all kicked off on Nuke. Even though Makazze had to play on ramp instead of his main position on defense, he still showed why teams should already be scared of him. By round 5, he pulled off a clean quadro by himself.
Will delay them further, swinging into it, comfortable with the first, and a double kill. Kyousuke has the bomb, hesitant to commit, and they do so. Nice headshot back from the Frenchman, but it's all Kyousuke.
Then on T side, he played super smart and consistent. On Mirage, things got even easier for him. First, he was back on his comfort spot, which is short. Second, he proved he can play both as an entry fragger and as a lurker without any issues. Should I say that he played on Nuke as an anchor? I mean, right now, Kyousuke is basically the most versatile player on the roster, and that's kinda cool. And about those rumors that Falcons' team psychologist is forcing players to stop doing certain things, it's total fake news. People even said that he, Lars Robel, banned Kyousuke from smoking, but turns out it was just a suggestion, nothing more. Although, guys, I have to say, please don't smoke. It doesn't do any good for your health. Now, G2 had a strong start going up against Furia in their first match. First off, even as IGL, Hunter was fragging way more than usual. On top of that, Melbs proved that he's not any worse than niko in the entry role. You can tell he's feeling much more confident these days. And the new samurai on the block, Mattis, also showed a solid performance. He even dropped an ace in round 10. The only one who underperformed was S1MPLE, who had the weakest game, probably just didn't want to warm up properly. But overall, a strong debut for the new lineup. The next big clash was NAVI versus Faze clan, a 2021-2022 classic. Sure, it would have been a lot spicier if s1MPLE was still in Faze, but this was about Makazze's chance to prove all the haters wrong. Side note, a lot of people from the Eastern European community think that Makazze is a fraud because he played with cheaters and match fixers. So yeah, he definitely had to do something to prove the haters wrong. From Ancient onwards, it felt like he couldn't miss a single shot and absolutely never lost clutches. Thanks to him, Faze clan took the first map. But then, Bit and Wonderful turned up the heat. They pretty much together shut down the whole Faze team down on Mirage and then on Nuke. Meanwhile, Makazze actually played a steady and kinda decent game, but this match is also remembered for another moment. Navi's coach Blade showed up with a broken arm. Turns out he had a little accident in Germany with Scooter, and well, this is the result. So guys, yeah, please be careful. Speaking of debuts, so far the worst one has to be Zweih's. Spirit faced Heroic in their first match of Iem Cologne, and sure, they won it in the end, but Zweih didn't shine like Kyousuke or even play as steady as Makazze. On Ancient, Spirit almost threw a comeback to their opponents, but then managed to close it out in the overtimes, even with Zontex kinda not playing at all. Bro was basically missing. Then on Nuke, Shiro kept destroying everyone, and that's exactly what carried Spirit to victory. Zweih tried his best, but with a .97 rating, it's not terrible, just way below what people expected from him. Although I have to say, taking Magix's roles and positions and duties, it's kinda unfair to treat him like that. As for the other opening matches, everything was as predicted. Vitality easily closed out Astralis. The Mongols had no trouble against 3D Max. Mouse completely crushed Team Liquid, and Aurora, even with a stand-in, managed to beat the young and promising ninjas in pajamas. The second matches were way more interesting, especially Falcons versus the Mongols. I mean, everyone knew the Mongols weren't just pushovers, but nobody expected them to completely dominate like this. They started by taking 6 6 rounds in a row, then stacked a few more, and by the end of the first half it was looking really rough for Falcons. But the worst part was yet to come. In round 15, Blitz pulled off a 1v4. Crazy beautiful.
Come on through now that these smokes have faded. Blitz, this is not an easy round. 2 in at the doorway. Blitz lines them up. Even more where that came from. Blitz isn't stopping. 1v4. All the eyeballs, all the attention on Kyousuke. Well, it should be on Blitz, but that clutch right there.
That fired up a small comeback attempt from Falcons, but they still ended up losing their own map pick. On Mirage, it looked like things might be better, but nope, the same story all over again. Stat-wise, Makazze and niko ended up at the bottom, barely grabbing 8 frags each. Kyousuke, though, didn't crumble. He was fighting solo to drag the team forward. But, well, as Overdrive said, they bought Kyousuke, but not the team play. Falcons themselves admitted that they played terribly and don't know what went wrong. Still, niko said he was blown away by Kyousuke's level and how serious he is about the game. The second match was also rough, but this one for G2 because they went up against Vitality, and trust me, you wouldn't wish this on anyone. It all started on Inferno, where Vitality just destroyed their opponents. They went up 5-0 right away and then traded a few rounds back and forth, but still closed it out 13-5. And that's with Zweih sitting at the bottom of the scoreboard the whole time. Train was at least a little bit more interesting. First, Heavy got clutched a crazy 1v3. Then Zweih answered back with a clean quadro. Next, Heavy God, realizing that the rookies can't just sit and wait, pulled off an ace. The game stayed super close from there, but in the end, Vitality were just too strong. They got the win and they got their spot at the Iem Cologne playoffs. Meanwhile, 2 teams have already been knocked out. First is Gamer Legion, and guys, I mean, they're a great team, but it's clear that they need to work on their synergy with the new sniper. And the second is S1MPLE, because they met with Furia and the Brazilian international Kazakhstani team just destroyed them. 13-3 on Inferno and 13-4 on Dust 2. Kyousuke'S gang had no chance. It was a massacre. So now the upcoming matches are NAVI versus Mouse, Ninjas in Pyjamas versus Heroic, Aurora versus Spirit, Faze versus Liquid, Falcons versus Furia, and 3D Max versus G2. Iem Cologne 2025 has got a lot to show us. But that's all for today, my friends. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button to follow the channel and drop by in the comments below, because it helps us develop a lot. I'm not saying goodbye for a long time. See you soon.